Harry and Meghan are hated by basically everyone. They are constantly drawing attention to themselves, then complaining when people talk about them, and they made the news back in 2020 for inking a $20 million deal with Spotify, but that is now over, and an executive has slammed them, calling the pair effing grifters. I have a few different things that I want to show off, but before we get into the topic, if you enjoy the content that I create, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Follow me on social media like Twitter or mine so that you can see when my content is posted. And of course, if you do really enjoy the videos and the live streams that I create, please consider becoming a Dark Titan via Patreon or a supporter via YouTube membership. Now, this is hilarious to me because I've had to talk about Harry and Meghan a few times on the channel, specifically when they were very upset by South Park, who made fun of them. This is absolutely funny to me, though, because we know that they are grifters. They constantly are looking for attention. They are constantly talking about how, oh no, we don't want people to pay attention to us, even though they secretly do, because they're constantly coming out with books and shows and documentaries and content for people to consume that revolves around their lives. It says Bill Simmons, the Ringer founder and head of podcast innovation and monetization at Spotify, recently ridiculed Prince Harry and Meghan Markle on his podcast, labeling the couple as effing grifters. His comments follows the Duke and Duchess of Sussex Thursday announcement that their production company, Archwell, has severed ties with the audio company. The pair inked a $20 million deal with Spotify in 2020. So first off, let's start with that. Their deal with Spotify is done. They only ever produced one podcast for Spotify for $20 million. They only ever had to do one thing. That is so mind-blowing to me. I don't understand why Spotify didn't push them more, because clearly it's a signed contract. They had obligations. I don't know why they never pushed the issue more, but let's just, start with that. The fact that that is how much money they got to do basically nothing. But he went on to say, the effing grifters, that's the podcast we should have launched with them. I got drunk one night and told the story of the Zoom I had with Harry to try and help him with a podcast idea. It's one of my best stories. So it sounds like after they signed that deal, they didn't even really know what they wanted to do for content. They had no clue what they actually wanted to present to people. I know that Meghan has, done several things on her own, right? She's tried to branch off. She's tried to do like cooking stuff, cooking content, and then, mothering content, and it all just ends up circling back to the royal family and who they were for many years until they decided, you know what, we want to be different. We don't want to be with the royal family anymore. We want to move to Los Angeles, and we want to be new people. Obviously, that all blew up when they put out their documentary with Netflix that went terribly. A Netflix global event, they called it. It's currently sitting at a 46% critic and a 19% average audience score, and it's really no surprise to see why. Their commentary on the royal family and kind of politics in general was just awful. It's like they don't understand the family they left, the world that they were part of, even though, of course, that's their whole entire grift, right? But they also just looked like genuinely shitty people. They didn't care about their family members back in the UK. They would make fun of the Queen. They would make fun of now King Charles. They would make fun of basically anyone they could. And they would bitch and complain about how they were not treated fairly and about how their lives could have been so much different if, Harry wasn't actually part of the royal family. But the primary reason why I hate them is because they constantly are complaining about small things. Like this, I had mentioned this in another video. Meghan Markle was allegedly upset and overwhelmed by this South Park episode about them, and funny enough, she was apparently thinking about suing them. As it says, a royal commentator suggested that the episode could even bring on a lawsuit. Their legal team are casting an eye over the episode to see what is wrong and what could be turned into something more sinister. This appears to be their course of action rather than laughing it off, enjoying the moment and showing the world that they can get the joke. This was so freaking great to me because, of course, it just made them look even worse. They didn't sue because they couldn't sue because at the end of the day, South Park is a satire. South Park makes fun of literally everyone and everything. South Park would have been sued 1,000,000 times over if you could just willy-nilly throw a lawsuit their way. It shows that, yes, they don't get a joke, and it shows that they are just completely out of touch with reality, because when you are a public figure, people are allowed to publicly ridicule you, publicly criticize you, and publicly humiliate you. People are allowed to make fun of you, but they don't like that. Basically, they go into the public, they release documentaries, they release books, they release podcasts, even though they don't last long, and then they complain when you talk about them, which is just absurd. These people are constantly making themselves look worse and worse and worse, and Netflix is still allegedly working with them. Apparently, after this Netflix documentary with them released, they were considering ending their deal prematurely, but as far as we know, that hasn't happened. But they got paid a boatload of money to work with Netflix. They were paid over $100 million. We have, seen like teasers of projects they were supposed to be doing with Netflix. Like Meghan was supposed to do like a children's series. They also wanted to do a more down-to-earth like lifestyle show, but none of this has happened so far. And this documentary released in December of 2022, so it's been months since this launched, and Netflix has, said, oh, we're gonna be doing more with them in the future. I can't stand these two individuals. I wish that they would just disappear, because honestly, anytime we hear about them, they are just complaining and moaning and groaning about how hard their lives are, even though, of course, they have been handed so many different things and so many different opportunities simply because of the family that Harry was born into. But yes, I think that this is absolutely hilarious. The fact that the Spotify exec Bill Simmons has now roasted the couple, calling them effing grifters. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed this and of course found it important and informative, please make sure to give it a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel. And of course, if you didn't, make sure to give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I will talk to you all again in the next video really soon.